When it gets dark in Nigeria, children get scared. The night brings with it an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant howl of a dog. In the dimly lit rooms, children huddle together, their eyes wide with fear, as they listen to the stories passed down from generation to generation. These stories are not just tales to entertain, they are warnings, lessons wrapped in the guise of folklore. And among these stories, one name is whispered more than any other, a name that sends shivers down the spine of anyone who hears it. They whisper a name like it's bad luck, Madame Koi Koi. The name is spoken in hushed tones, as if saying it out loud might summon her. It's a name that carries weight, a name that has been etched into the collective consciousness of the people. Madame Koi Koi is not just a ghost, she is a symbol of the unknown, a manifestation of the fears that lurk in the shadows. Her story is told in whispers, passed from one person to another, each retelling adding a new layer of dread. She's like something from a bad dream, a figure that haunts the edges of your vision, always just out of sight. Her presence is felt more than seen, a chill that runs down your spine, a sense of being watched. In the darkness, she is a shadow among shadows, a figure that seems to blend into the night. Her story is one of tragedy and vengeance, a tale that has been told and retold, each version more terrifying than the last. A ghost that visits schools and empty streets. She is said to roam the hallways of schools at night, her footsteps echoing in the silence. The sound of her heels clicking on the floor is a warning, a sign that she is near. On deserted streets, under the dim glow of streetlights, her figure is seen, a fleeting glimpse that leaves you questioning your own eyes. She is a ghost that is everywhere and nowhere, a presence that is felt but rarely seen. Her story, a mix of real and scary things, has been told for many years. It is a story that has its roots in reality, a tale that has been embellished over time. The origins of Madame Koi Koi are shrouded in mystery, with different versions of the story existing in different parts of Nigeria. Some say she was a teacher, others say she was a student, but all agree on one thing: her spirit is restless and she seeks revenge. But Madame Koi Koi isn't just a story, she is a reminder of the past, a ghost that refuses to be forgotten. Her story is a cautionary tale, a warning to those who would ignore the lessons of history. She is a symbol of the consequences of our actions, a ghost that haunts not just the night, but our very souls. Her presence is a reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that the ghosts of our past can come back to haunt us. She's a warning about the bad things hiding in the dark. The story of Madame Koi Koi is a reminder that the world is full of unseen dangers, that the darkness hides more than just the absence of light. It is a story that teaches us to be cautious, to be aware of our surroundings, and to respect the unknown. It is a story that has been passed down through generations, a tale that has been told and retold, each time with a new lesson to be learned. People whisper about her, scared to even say her name. The fear of Madame Koi Koi is palpable, a fear that is felt by young and old alike. It is a fear that is passed down from one generation to the next, a fear that is reinforced by the stories that are told. The name Madame Koi Koi is spoken in hushed tones, a name that is rarely said out loud. It is a name that carries with it a sense of dread, a name that is synonymous with fear. She's become a famous ghost story in Nigeria. The story of Madame Koi Koi has become a part of the cultural fabric of Nigeria, a story that is known by all. It is a story that is told around campfires, in darkened rooms, and in hushed whispers. It is a story that has been adapted into plays, movies, and books. The story of Madame Koi Koi is a testament to the power of folklore, a story that has stood the test of time. But where did it all begin? The origins of Madame Koi Koi are as mysterious as the ghost herself. Some say she was a teacher who met a tragic end, others say she was a student who was wronged. The truth is lost to time, buried under layers of myth and legend. But one thing is certain: the story of Madame Koi Koi has a hold on the imagination of the people, a story that continues to be told and retold. And why are people still so scared of her today? The fear of Madame Koi Koi is not just about the ghost herself, but what she represents. She is a symbol of the unknown, a reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows. She is a ghost that haunts not just the night, but the minds of those who hear her story. The fear of Madame Koi Koi is a fear of the past, a fear of the unknown, and a fear of the consequences of our actions. It is a fear that is as old as time, a fear that continues to haunt us to this day. Nobody knows for sure how the story of Madame Koi Koi started. It's a mystery that has been passed down through generations, whispered among students and teachers alike. Some say it began many years ago, in a time when the world was a different place, filled with shadows and secrets. The old, abandoned school building stands as a silent witness to the past, its empty playground at dusk a haunting reminder of the children who once played there. The walls of the school have absorbed the echoes of laughter and the whispers of fear, creating an atmosphere thick with history and mystery. Some people say she was a mean teacher with a loud, scary voice. Her stern demeanor and strict rules made her a figure of fear among the students. They say her voice could be heard echoing through the hallways, a constant reminder of her presence. But was she really as mean as they say? Or was there more to her story? Others say she was a woman who got her heart broken by a man, a tragic love story that ended in heartbreak and despair. She was often seen sitting alone on a bench, her eyes filled with tears as she gazed at the sunset. Her sorrow was so deep that it seemed to seep into the very fabric of the world around her. But everyone agrees, Madame Koi Koi wants revenge. Her spirit is restless, driven by a desire for vengeance that knows no bounds. The dark, ominous forest path and the creepy abandoned hallway at night are her domain, places where her presence is felt most strongly. She was so angry and sad that she died a terrible death, her life ending in a storm of emotions that left her spirit trapped on Earth. The stormy night with lightning and the abandoned graveyard at night are symbols of her torment, places where her anguish is palpable, and now her ghost is stuck on Earth. She roams the old school hallways, a ghostly figure that appears and disappears like a wisp of smoke. The misty graveyard at night is her refuge, a place where she can find some semblance of peace, even if only for a moment. She walks around at night, her presence felt in the dimly lit streets and the lonely roads. The shadowy figure walking on a lonely road is a reminder of her eternal journey, a path that she must walk alone. And the clicking sound of her shoes means something bad is going to happen. The close-up of high-heeled shoes walking on a dark street and the footsteps in the moonlit forest are ominous signs, a warning to those who hear them. Madame Koi Koi's story is a tragic tale of love, loss, and revenge, a haunting reminder of the past that continues to echo through the present. Like a lot of ghost stories, the story of Madame Koi Koi is different all over Nigeria. In some places, she's a bad spirit that hurts people. In other places, she punishes people who break the rules. But all the stories have some things in common: the clicking shoes, her scary cries, and the idea that she wants to punish people. Each story shows what people in that place believe and what they're afraid of, making the story of Madame Koi Koi even more interesting. Scary stories like Madame Koi Koi's are important. They're not just for fun, they're part of our culture. They show us what we're most afraid of. They teach us about being good, staying safe, and what happens when we do bad things. Even though it's easy to find information these days, scary stories still make us curious. They remind us that some things are mysteries, and that makes us use our imaginations and face the things we don't understand. Madame Koi Koi is still popular today in Nigeria. People tell her story in books, movies, music, and art. She's become a symbol of fear, but also something people are really interested in. Actors tell her scary story on stage, and musicians use the sound of her clicking heels in their songs. Madame Koi Koi has definitely changed Nigerian culture. Why is the story of Madame Koi Koi still so popular? It's a tale that has transcended generations, whispered among children and adults alike. The legend of Madame Koi Koi is not just a story, it's a manifestation of our deepest, most primal fears. But what is it about this particular tale that keeps it alive in our collective consciousness? Maybe it's because we're all afraid of the same things. Fear is a universal emotion, one that binds us together in our shared experiences. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the dark, and the fear of being alone are all elements that Madame Koi Koi embodies. Her story taps into these common fears, making it relatable to everyone who hears it. We don't like what we don't know, the scary things that happen in the dark. The unknown is a vast, terrifying concept that our minds struggle to comprehend. In the darkness, our imaginations run wild, conjuring up all sorts of horrors. Madame Koi Koi thrives in this environment, her presence felt in every shadow and every unexplained sound. Madame Koi Koi is like all those fears put together, and she has a name and a face. She is the embodiment of our collective anxieties given form and substance. Her story is a way for us to confront these fears, to give them a name and a face, and in doing so, make them a little less terrifying. Or maybe it's because her story is simple and speaks to our deepest fears. The clicking heels, the scary cries, these are the elements that make her story so compelling. They are the sounds that haunt our nightmares, the things that go bump in the night. Madame Koi Koi's tale is a reminder that sometimes the simplest stories are the most effective at evoking fear. Those are the sounds we hear in nightmares, the echoes of our deepest fears. Nightmares are a way for our minds to process and confront our anxieties, and Madame Koi Koi's story is a perfect example of this. Her presence in our dreams is a manifestation of our subconscious fears, a way for us to confront and deal with them. The things that make us scared. Fear is a powerful emotion, one that can control our actions and thoughts. Madame Koi Koi's story is a way for us to explore and understand this emotion, to confront it head-on. By sharing her tale, we are able to connect with others who share our fears, and in doing so, find comfort and solace in the knowledge that we are not alone. Whatever the reason, people are still fascinated and scared by Madame Koi Koi. She reminds us that stories are powerful, and that we can tell stories that scare us and make us think. Her story shows us that even though we have technology and science, there are still mysteries in the world. As long as we keep telling her story, Madame Koi Koi will keep scaring us for many years to come. Madame Koi Koi is a big part of Nigerian culture, but it's important to remember that she's just a story. We should enjoy our traditions, but we should also think for ourselves and not believe everything we hear. It's important to know what's real and what's not, and to teach kids to ask questions about the stories they hear. If we're not afraid to ask questions, we can enjoy scary stories like Madame Koi Koi's while still being logical and smart. The story of Madame Koi Koi is still popular in Nigeria. She's a warning, a reminder of what scares us, and an example of how powerful stories can be. Whether she's real or not, one thing is for sure. Madame Koi Koi will keep scaring and fascinating us for a long time.